Welcome to Midweek Life. My name is Josh, your host. We are in the middle of a series talking about grief. Grief is real and it's prevalent, and many people are grieving right now for many different reasons. One example, we're still going through a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been loss of jobs, loss of life, loss of opportunity, and people are sad. So often, people are tempted to suppress their sadness, suppress their grief, just kind of compartmentalize it and just plow through life, right, without actually looking at it and in a healthy way processing that sadness. And so we want to take these opportunities now in Midweek Life and really talk about grief and hear stories. And today I have a guest. Her name is Flavia Flores. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
You are an attender of at Life Church?
Yes.
How long have you and your family been going here?
We've been here 3 years now. Going on 4
years.
Next week.
How many kids do you have?
Total of 5.
5.
4 with me. 1 is in the Marine. We're in the process of adopting one of my sons. So very excited.
I'm excited to hear your story, and I feel like it'll be relevant, and I feel like it'll make an impact, and it will really help people who are even currently grieving right now. And so will you share with us your story as far as some trauma that you experienced in your life, and then how you are even still trying to process that grief?
My biggest impact was my sister passing away in 2008. It still hurts till this day. She was my best friend. It just out of the blue. She was having a good time with her friends, and I was with her up until that last day. Hearing her say, "I love you" repeatedly, that whole weekend was just weird. And that Sunday, just like that, it was over.
And how'd you find out?
The story behind how I found out was I had the eerie feeling. God knows how to put things together, I guess, if you want to say it that way. I didn't understand it back then, but throughout the years you put the puzzles together. I just couldn't sleep on a Sunday night. Just couldn't sleep, couldn't do it. And all of a sudden I want to go lay down, and usually my daughter doesn't sleep with me, but that day I just needed somebody to be with me. A couple of minutes, you hear that big, huge pound, like boom, boom, boom. It was Sunday night, and you just hear that big pound, like, okay, something's happening. And I'm afraid, because I'm with my daughter, and I'm like, oh my God, who is this? And I look in the window, I look like a creep, like trying to see what it is, and I see a car. Obviously, you don't know what it is, and it's dark, and I open the door, and it's the state troopers. And I'm just like, okay. And they ask the questions like, are you Flavia Oseguera? And I'm just like, yeah, that's me. He comes in, the officer, and says, do you know Kelly Oseguera? And I'm just like, who? You want to take it back. And then I see in his hand my sister's ID. And I knew something happened. And I'm like, okay, you may come in. Sure. And I'm like, is she okay? And when he just said, ma'am, I'm sorry, but your sister was in a very bad accident and she did not make it. And I'm like, okay. I scream because that's what you do, because that's what your emotions take over.
Was your daughter asleep?
My daughter was asleep, and she woke up scared, and she's screaming for mommy. She was going to be 2. So I went to go grab her, and I held her so tight, and she had no clue. I couldn't think. I couldn't process what you were just telling me. It's like and I repeated, this is a joke, like you're playing with me. I just saw her. I just literally just saw her. I just talked to her. I had to call my mom, and my mom lived a couple blocks away, and I had to call her and tell her, Mom, the police are here. And she's like, are you okay? Is everything fine? What's wrong? I go, I can't tell you over the phone. You need to come. And she's like, what is wrong? Yelling at me, what is wrong? What are you talking about? I'm like, I'm sorry, but Kelly passed away tonight. And I just hear a click, you know, and she was there within minutes. I had to call my brothers. They were there in minutes. My yard, Pastor Josh, my yard was filled with cars because we didn't know where to park. So they just all like, boom, 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 you know. The crazy part is that my sister, or the party that she was with, they were only 5 minutes away from her house. Exactly 5 minutes. And that's it. That's all it took.
Yeah.
You know? And that whole process, trying to deal with it, or trying to figure out how you're going to live without this person, you know?
And it was a drunk driving accident, correct?
It was a drunk driving accident, yep.
When it happened, did you ever have a moment where you were in complete denial? Or did it, because you know, like the stages of grief, there's denial and then there's anger, or did you kind of leapfrog denial and just go for angry? Because you were mentioning that even today you still have spouts where you still get a little angry about it.
I'm angry.
Yeah.
I was angry. And the reason why I didn't go through denial, I get what happened. Because my older brother, Henry, and he also passed away, he told us, you know, he made it very clear. She chose to get in that car. We knew we couldn't deny what was going to happen, or how everything was going to come, because he was strong. My brother was very strong in letting us know, especially me and my mom, because we were so attached to my sister. She's not coming back. Let's get that through our heads. So I went from that to angry. And my brother's like, you can't be angry at somebody else. And so he kind of helped me, but I was so angry at the fact that he was right, but angry at her for making that choice.
Yeah.
You know, because I could have convinced her, but at the same time, I'm like, you got to pick and choose your argument. You got to pick and choose your arguments, you know.
She's also a grown woman.
Yep. So she was 24.
Yeah.
She was 24.
An adult making her own choices.
And there's nothing that I could have done.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have tried, but it wouldn't have worked.
What did the first year look like after she passed, as far as your grieving?
I went into a very dark place. Very, very dark. I looked at the wrong friendships. I just wanted to cover my hole, you know. My sister was my world. Like, legit my world. We were raised together. We cried together. We shared rooms up until we were like 16, 17. Like, even though we had our space, but somehow we had that special bond. Like, I went into a mess. I didn't care about my daughter. I cared about me and how I'm going to fill this hole. Not even my daughter could fill that hole.
Right.
So I turned into alcohol, parties. There were suicidal thoughts, a lot of them, but not just mine, but also taking my daughter, because I didn't want to share my daughter. I don't want to share her. And I'm like, if I'm leaving, so is she. You know, it got to that really dark place. And I was just like, as a Hispanic, we don't seek for help. We stuff it. We stuff it, and there's nothing wrong, and you continue with life. Because if you seek for help, everybody thinks you cuckoo. You know, it's hard to be in two cultures and seeking, and me going, I'm crying out, but nobody's helping me. You know what I mean? Like, doing all these bad things and nobody's helping. You know, my mom had to deal with her own grief. I can't put no more. My thought is like, I can't put no more burden on her. Like, she needs to do her own thing, you know?
If you could go back a decade now, how would you have changed things as far as processing your grief? Or would you have changed anything?
I don't think I would change anything, because that's what the whole process is about.
Yeah.
Everybody has to process differently. My sister's death was very hard on me and my mom. When my brother passed away, I already knew, like.
So this was later than Henry?
Yep, Henry, yep.
How long after your sister passed?
Was Henry's accident?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was like 5
5
5
years
to 6
after?
years.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we went boom, boom, boom. So trying to cope through Kelly's situation. And then we have my brother, my older brother. We call him the head of the household because that's what he was. You know, he made it like, mama's not married.
Yeah, there wasn't a dad around.
I am
So it was
who I say
Henry,
I am,
yeah.
you know? I learned to not be angry. I learned to say, okay. I learned to say his own words. It happened. It's going to be okay. You know?
The words that he was
Telling us.
pastoring you through with your sister.
I could just play it in my head
Yeah.
and say, Flavia, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I'm always going to be here for you, and it's going to be okay. And he's like basically saying, now you take care of my mom.
That's special.
You know? We didn't get to say goodbye to either or.
Yeah.
You know? Because it just instant death, just like that. It's hard to understand that process. Like, okay, God, but you're so good. But why do we have to go through this pain? Why do we have to feel all of this? You know, the emptiness, our culture, like the whole entire schedule changing and not hearing their voices again. It's difficult.
Yeah.
You know, it's more difficult now that my kids are growing and they see certain pictures in my house. Who is that? Who is that? I'm just like, okay. Like, okay, how are we going to explain this? And why aren't they here with us?
Yeah.
You know, they don't understand. They're processing it. You know, they see mommy crying once in a while. It's like, oh, you miss Sissy? I'm like, yeah. Mommy, you had a sister? Yeah. I'm like, I did. And you had an older brother? Yeah. I do. I go, I do. I go, it's just, they're not here. Are they with Jesus? Yeah, they're with, you know, trying to, but they don't understand. And I don't want to go into deeps with them yet because it's not the moment.
Experiencing your own pain, having gone through that, and then also experiencing the people coming around you, your family and your friends, and just trying to walk with you during this. I'm sure some people did it right, and maybe some people missed the mark. What would be your advice to those of us who just want to know how to grieve with someone who is in pain?
Stick with them. Don't just be there for the moment. There was only like a handful. For me, it was one specific person. Until this day, she's amazing.
Still checks in
And
on
she
you?
still checks on me more when it's like the holidays or the birthdays. And she still remembers my sister's birthday, and she still calls me. And she doesn't have to say anything. She just lets me be me and cry. And I got you, sis. You know, that to me is fabulous, and I love her for that. And I try, because of her, I've tried to learn when somebody tells me, Flavia, so-and-so passed away. I've learned to always check in on them. It's lonely. After my sister passed away and my brother, everybody left. That's it. Everybody.
After a few days, it's just you by yourself
back to
again.
normal, and now you're what? You're left alone. You know, you're left to deal with the whole process by yourself, and find that person. Go out there, and just help them. When somebody calls you and says, pray for me, I just lost someone, or tells you I just lost someone, be there for them. If you can, drive to their house. You don't have to say anything.
I think that's big what you just said. I think there's pressure when you're sitting with someone who's in pain to say the right things.
And there's not.
There's just nothing.
There's nothing. There's nothing you can say to someone when they lose somebody. There's no words. And so you better
no Bible verses.
Nope. And I told one friend, I go, it's just hold my hand. Let me do me, but just be there. You know what I mean? Just hold my hand, and I'm okay. You give me strength, like, give me the strength, because that's what my sister would have done. My sister would have just held my hand and be like, okay, I'm not going to say nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I try to do with people.
There's going to be people that are going to watch this, and they are currently grieving. They are currently in a lot of pain. What would be your advice to them, someone who is currently just in it right now?
My advice is you have to do you. Whether you go into a room and scream, whether you go and say, why me? Why this? Why that? Why? You can ask those questions and not be afraid. Don't be afraid. I wish when I was going through this, I wish somebody would step in and told me, Flavia, it's okay to be angry. Because, again, back to my culture, you can't show emotions. Not allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's weak. You're not allowed to seek for help, because then you're considered something's wrong with you, So when I tell my people, when they seek me, just, it's fine. You want me to scream with you? I scream with you. I can scream good. Okay? I can do that. You want fat pancakes? I got you. I'll go get you a meal and we'll be fine. You want to play loud music and just sing and do whatever you want to do so you can get those emotions out, but not bundle them in, because it's not a good feeling when you bundle them in, because then it's like a trigger point. You go, oh, when you have too much weight. It's healthy. It's fine to feel that emotion. It's fine to be sad. And happiness will come. I wish somebody was there when I went through my sister's death and when I went through my brother's death, and seeing my mom grieve, and almost, my life is like, it's just crazy. I wish somebody was there for me and telling me it's okay to feel these ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I see it now after so many years. I can be angry. I can still be angry at her for choosing that. I can still be angry at my brother for getting up on his ladder or whatever, his pole or whatever, and not making sure things were correct. I can still be angry. But then I remember the good times, how we would sing really loud just to annoy my mom. Or we would start picking a fight just to annoy my mom and everything, and everything was a joke. Like, those are the good things that comes after anger. My little one has so much of both of my siblings. And it's annoying, because then I have to go, okay. Refocus. No tears. He has my sister's eyes, and he has the attitude of my brother. Like, what just happened here? And he has that smirk. Like, he smiles and he lights up the room just the way my sister and my brother did. When my children do something comical, I'm just like, oh, that just reminds me of, But then in my own little private area, I have to do what I have to do, because then I'm like, okay, I got this. Like, I miss you so much. Like, you don't even understand how my world has turned upside down, And it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I have to look at myself in the mirror. Everything's going to be okay. God is telling me, I have a purpose for you. Just be patient. We go through the tribulations. I feel like sometimes I'm at sea and the storm is coming, and it's coming. And then it's calm.
Thanks for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
And again, this is Midweek Life. My name is Josh. We are talking on grief. We are going to spend several weeks talking about grief. How do we process grief personally, but also how do we sit with those who are experiencing some major pain in their life? And so this was a very valuable interview. And so we hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next time.